Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to day 2 of 25 days of astrology. So this video is going to be uploaded on December 2nd. So in December, every day from December 1st until Christmas, I will be uploading one astrology related video. I'm trying to get monetized. I'm trying to get my page popping, period. So I want to get a really big boost by the end of the year. And I feel like if I knock these videos out, something is going to shake. So it's going to be a very random mix of astrology videos. There's going to be placement videos. Like yesterday's video was astrology placements that could indicate that one could be a late bloomer. Today's video is a chart breakdown. There's going to be horoscope videos. There's going to be general or more specified placement videos as well. So yeah, make sure that you're subscribing and tapping in so that you can see the videos and you can see everything, because I got a lot of good stuff coming. Now, today's video is going to be about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislane Maxwell. Now, I've already posted a video about Jeffrey Epstein and his birth chart a couple months ago, so go reference that video. I'm going to put it here so you know where to find it. And then also, I just read a book which really prompted me to keep looking further and further into Jeffrey Epstein. I'm going to look more into Ghislane Maxwell. We have a birth time for her as well, so there's going to be a video about her chart. But I read Nobody's Girl by Virginia Roberts Giffrey, I think is how you pronounce her last name, who was a victim of Epstein's. She was procured by Maxwell. She was working at Mar-a-Lago, which we know to be Donald Trump's club, whatever the hell that is, golf club. And she was working there, and when she was 16 years old, Ghislane Maxwell peeped her out, was like, hey, I have a friend who likes massages. If you can give him massages, we'll pay you $200. That's a lot of money for a 16-year-old, and that was a lot of money in 1998. So you do the math. She got involved with them, ended up being with him and Ghislane Maxwell for over 2 years, was trafficked with them all over the world. And Maxwell and Epstein ended up lending Virginia out to very prime men. Like, there are prime ministers of other countries, Prince Andrew, a lot of people. She named some people. I didn't necessarily know who they were, but there were also a lot of people that she says that she wishes that she could have named. So today's video is going to be about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislane Maxwell. I'm going to be breaking down their composite chart, not synastry. I don't really care too much about their synastry. If y'all really want the synastry, I can make another video about that later, I guess. But the composite chart is something that does go along with synastry. So synastry is when you take one person's chart and another person's chart, and you use you put one chart on the inside, the other chart on the inside, and you compare the charts to each other. And you can use the planets, the aspects, the house overlaps, and things like that to see how these people are affecting each other. So like the person on the inside, you can put the chart on the outside to see how that outside person affects them, and vice versa. Now what the composite chart is it takes person A and person B, combines their birth charts together to make chart C, which is the chart of the overall dynamic of the person's, with the two people's relationship. And you can see a lot about their dynamic, what they do, how they get along, what the themes of the relationship are, so on and so forth, just with that alone. So this video today is going to be focusing on Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislane Maxwell's composite. Before I get into it, the link to book a reading and the links to all of my social media platforms and my Patreon is going to be in the description box, so you know how to connect with me if you want to book a reading or if you want to just see more from me as a whole. Okay, so yes, this is the composite chart for Ghislane Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. Now, the first thing that I was looking at, of course, is the 5th house, because these were sex traffickers, and the 5th house is the house of sex, romance, all of the things, even though there was nothing romantic about the things that they were doing here. But the moon in Gemini is the ruler of their 5th house of sex. And I think this is so fitting when you think about the fact that they did a lot of crazy things together. The moon represents instability. The moon represents fluctuations. The moon represents traveling in a sense. Like the moon and even Gemini are two planets, well, not planets, but a planet and a sign that are associated with travel. Like Mercury and the moon are the planets of travel. So even thinking about the fact that they did a lot of wild things together, but secretly the fourth house being the base of the chart can be associated with secrets and hidden things, while on an island, water, the moon, Cancer, and literal sex trafficking. Like it's so literal. And even thinking about the moon being in a trine with this Aquarius moon Venus conjunction really points to sexual abuse. Even considering the fact that the moon is associated with women specifically, but also young people. And that that Venus-Mars conjunction in the 12th house, we're going to get to that later. But that Mars-Venus conjunction in the 12th house is just like, wow. Especially, again, when you consider that Venus is the planet that represents sex and relationships. Mars is violence, cruelty, abuse. Even thinking about how it's conjunct Chiron too, which is an asteroid, but Chiron is associated with like fears, abuse, wounds, trauma. It just really shows how dark and sick these people were. And like reading Virginia's book, I definitely recommend, if you have any interest in this case, Jeffrey Epstein, any of that stuff, like read her book, because it took me a really long time to read because it was hard to stomach. I had to keep putting it down, picking it back up. But the book was really good. And like, these people are sick, just so sick. But even thinking about the moon also is in an opposition with Saturn in the 10th house. They were very abusive and cruel to these young women and girls that they were trafficking. The moon is also in a sextile with Uranus, which speaks to the wild, shocking, extreme things that they did. I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't know what you can and can't say on YouTube, but Virginia's book has a lot of crazy details. And even thinking about Uranus represents rebellion, Uranus represents freedom. These people had so much money that they were able to get away with everything. Like when Jeffrey Epstein died, it was a number in the book. I don't remember what the exact number was, but it was like that man was worth like 500 million. Like he just had so much money. And when you have money and you have rich friends and connections and things like that, and I even talked about some of those things in the Jeffrey Epstein video. I think I'm going to actually do a Jeffrey Epstein part 2. But when you have money and when you have access and connections to all of these wealthy people, you can really do whatever the hell you want. And not only was Jeffrey Epstein rich, but Ghislane Maxwell was rich herself. Like she was an heiress. She came from money. She was her father's. I think there was 9 children. She was the baby, but she was the favorite. So like, yeah, sick, powerful people. And also what's interesting to me looking at their composite chart. So again, lots of traveling, lots of transportation. And again, these were literal sex traffickers. The 3rd and the 9th house are the houses that represent travel. The 3rd house is more so travel that's intermediate, travel like by car, or even more so like if you think about traveling between the United States, could be more so of a 3rd house thing, whereas traveling across the world, going onto these different places and islands could be more of a 9th house thing. But the nodes in a chart is a very sensitive point. It can represent like a lot of catalytic, transformative, focal energy in one's life. So even when you think about this chart as the relationship as a whole of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislane Maxwell, everything that they did was related to like, you know, them traveling and trafficking. And I don't know if this is the exact number, but I think it was like over 200 women were trafficked by these people. And he ended up paying, like when it was all said and done, and I know some of this started, women got payments before he died, but also women got payments after he died. But he had to pay off like 200 women. And even now, like when he passed away and all of his properties and islands and things were sold, the victims are getting that money now, which is just like so crazy to think about. So yeah, when you think about that trafficking, but also when you think about the 3rd house is ruled by Venus, the 9th house is ruled by Mars, that Venus-Mars conjunction in the 12th house is the ruler of these houses of travel, which really ties everything in together. And also the 12th house is another house that's associated with travel and foreign lands, things that are far away. But the 12th house is also another house that's associated with secrets. So yeah, there's that. Now, next, I wanted to focus on the 7th house, because the 7th house is the house of relationships and partnerships. So yes, this chart represents their overall dynamic, but like the 7th house is what they do together, how they connect, how they relate as a whole. And when you think about 7th house and Virgo, everything they did together was very calculated, very well put together, a lot of organization, a lot of details, very specific energy. And when you think about the fact that Virgo is Mercury is in Capricorn, which is a sign that's associated with order and structure and boundaries and things that are strict and abuse and cruelty and all of that. Like, it just makes so much sense. Mercury, again, is the ruler of the 7th house, but Mercury is in the 11th house, which is the house of networks, friends, alliances, connections. And again, they had so many connections, they had so many friends, the relationships and things that they were doing was focal to what they were doing, but also how they got away with it. Like, even Jeffrey Epstein, Jenna spent so much time with Jeff, like she was literally living with Epstein for 2 years. So even thinking about like in his house, like there were cameras and he like secretly videotaped these people and recorded things. And even when you think about now, all these years later, the emails and things that have came out, like he had so much, he had these connections and friends, but Virginia also in the book was saying like she wondered if, well, not even if she wondered, he even implied himself like he has all of these things. So like, yeah, he's doing these nasty things with these powerful people, but like, yeah, if you want to expose me, I got the cameras, I got the paperwork, you were here too. And yeah, even to just be able to amass a large amount of wealth and to get away with these things and do all of this stuff. Like, it was no secret that Jeffrey Epstein was a sex trafficker. And he even got arrested in like 2006, 2007. And he was in jail for a period of time, but he had work release. He was able to leave the fucking prison every day. Like, when you have money, when you have influence, when you have power, you can get away with so much. And even thinking about how the sun is a planet that's associated with influence and power, and it's in Capricorn, which is the sign that's associated with these things, it makes sense. But again, the ruler of the 11th houses and the 10th house as well too, which shows that they had a lot of connections with famous and influential people. Pluto is in the 7th house. They did a lot of dark, secretive, abusive things together. And the descendant is opposite Jupiter, which is the planet that represents youth and children. And again, they were trafficking young women and young girls. Even when you consider the fact that Mercury is business, Mercury is commerce, but Mercury is also a planet that's associated with travel. And so like literally they were trafficking women, and that was focal to their relationship that they had. Because people even wonder, like, were they, they had a sexual relationship, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislane Maxwell, and they were even doing some of these things, abusing these girls together. But people wonder, like, were they actually like in a romantic relationship? I don't know that I really think that they were. I think it might have been at one point, but like, I don't even know. But the sun is conjunct Mercury, which again, doing these things with famous people, actors, world leaders, billionaires, royalty. And Mercury is also in aspect with the nodes, which shows that they were connected to a lot of powerful people, and the extremity of what they were doing, but also the extremity of how they were able to get away with a lot of these things. And just thinking about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislane Maxwell, again, these people had a lot of money. Everything that they did was so lavish and excessive. His house, the inside of his house was painted pink. Guess what? Because we know what else is the color of pink? Coochie. Like, there were pictures of naked young women and girls like on the walls all over his house, like hung up. Just a lot of flashy, excessive, extreme things. And first of all, that Venus-Mars conjunction in a sextile with the moon gives very indulgent and hedonistic, because Venus is pleasure, Mars is again abuse, and the moon is what's comfortable. The moon is what you feel safe, secure, and nurturing. Well, not in a sextile. This was actually in a trine. I wrote that wrong on my notes. But even again, thinking about Aquarius energy, Aquarius is rebellion. Aquarius is doing things different, being, I don't want to say innovative, but like, again, these people did what they want and they had no regard. They didn't care about the consequences. They barely even faced any consequences. If you want to be honest, like, they got away with so much for so long. They were doing these things for like 20, 30 years, which is really fucking sick when you think about it. But that Venus-Mars conjunction was opposing Uranus, which speaks to the fact that there was a lack of boundaries, lack of control when it came to these sexual things that they were doing. And in a square with Neptune. Neptune is a planet that's associated with secrets, illusion, imagery, deception, manipulation, a lack of boundaries, lack of control with everything that they were doing. Even thinking about Venus, that Venus-Mars conjunction was conjunct Chiron, which I already talked about, but like, this just really screams abuse, and like, they inflicted hurt and pain on so many people. Now, even when you think about the chart as a whole, this chart, their composite chart, had a Pisces rising with Jupiter at home, which speaks to excess. They're known for their wealth, fun, flashy, excessive, crazy things that they did, which is very, in essence, Jupiter is the planet of success, wealth, abundance, expansion, and like everything, like go hard or go home energy is Jupiter, and these people went hard. The only aspect that the midheaven, which is the angle that represents your public image, reputation, so on and so forth, is to Jupiter, which is in a square. Like, they did a lot and it worked for them, but it was also their downfall. And Jupiter literally is the planet that rules the midheaven in the 10th house. And even when you think about Pisces is a very mystical, secretive, imaginative sign, these people had so many secrets. These, like, everything about them was like fantasies and imagery, and a lot of this stuff was also like very boldly and proudly displayed. But yeah, that chart ruler, that Pisces rising with Jupiter and Pisces, makes a lot of sense as well. So yeah, those are all of my notes for Ghislane Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein's composite chart. So let me know what y'all think about this. I'm very curious to hear your all feedback. Let me know if you want a part 2 on Jeffrey Epstein, and let me know if you also want a video on Ghislane Maxwell's chart. Stay tuned, because we also do have a birth time for Virginia Roberts, who wrote the book that I read that really piqued my, I'm not going to say piqued my interest, because I already did look at Epstein's chart, but made me want to look even further. She has a confirmed birth time as well too, so I'm going to be making a video breaking down her chart. So yeah, stay on the lookout for that. Again, the link to all of my socials are going to be in the description, and moonworldmommy.com will be in the description as well too, if anybody's interested in booking a birth chart reading with me. Thank you for watching. Love you guys down, and I'll see you in the next video.